Welcome to the Sisterhood Tea Party, where we get together weekly to discuss all the tea about life, relationships, pop culture, and generally anything you chat about with your best friend over a cup of tea or beverage of choice.
We're your hosts, Stephanie and Jessica, and we've been spilling the tea to each other for more than a decade. And now we're ready to invite the rest of you to the tea party.
Today's episode is part one of discussing New Year's goals. In this episode, we will be talking about how we review our 2023 goals, celebrate the wins, acknowledge the challenges before we dive into our 2024 goals, which we'll talk about in the next episode.
A quick plug before we get started. If you like what you hear today, you can follow at Sisterhood Tea Party on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram.
All right, let's get to sipping with what's top of the mind for us this week, Stephanie.
All right, so Thanksgiving is basically tomorrow at this point. And I just wanted to share a few things that I'm thankful for.
I love
I'm
that.
thankful for a lot of different things. Yeah. So family, number one, they've been there for me through a lot of different things, just supporting me and being there for me. And it's just so nice that I'm able to go visit them as often as I can. Also my friends, you are included, obviously. But my friends, yes, but my friends that have been listening, especially the ones that have been like supporting me, listening to this podcast and like texting me week after week, being like, I'm so excited to listen to y'all and just like hear what you have to say. It's just been amazing. And of course, just the overall support that they give me every single day. Also my job, both, my full-time job and my side hustle as a spin instructor have been just amazing this year. And then of course, the gift of movement, being able to work out, go on walks, do what I need to do to just like stay healthy and sane and just get through the craziness of life. So that's where I'm at. I know.
That was beautiful. That was
Thank
truly beautiful. I love all of that. And it's also going to make me sound like super shallow when I talk about what's my top of
No,
mine
it doesn't. No, because it's fine.
Okay,
You
well,
are fine.
+1 to all of that for all my friends and family too. Okay, but that was beautiful. I love that. For me, what's top of mind for me is again much more shallow. My social media strategy. Yes, I know. I'm attempting to have one. I have been focusing on creating content for like over a year now, which we'll talk about when we talk about goals today. And I've been so focused on creating short videos that I had this realization this week that like I stopped taking pictures. And so when I go to my Instagram and I look at the grid, there's no grid. Like it's just videos.
Hey.
And so I was like, oh, okay. I was like looking at some other influencers that I like kind of like look up to as like potential career steps for me in that way. If I ever make it. And they have a grid and I don't. So
okay. Well, then
focus.
what are ways you can like get that though?
Well, I posted a selfie today, so I'm trying to take more pictures. But in general, I'm just trying to like, I think, diversify the types of stuff that I create a little bit more. Like I very much focus in on TikTok trends, to help grow, but I focus less on Instagram trends. So I need to like pay attention to that a little bit more, take more photos. Just diversify the types and how of my content as well. So that's my top of mind.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And I'm grateful for it. Okay. Okay, well, let's get into the real tea for today. Reflecting on our 2023 goals. It is almost the new year. I can't even believe it.
I had that realization. I was sitting here. I'm like, how are we already like a couple months away at this point from the new year? And what have we done? Really sitting back and like, what have we done? What have we accomplished? And we still have some time. Like this is not the end. Like we still have a little bit of time to like get to those goals or things that we set for ourselves. But it's like, whoa, you have to take a little bit of a step back and really reflect and decide like, what did we do this year?
Yeah. And I think you and I are very similar in that way where we are like very self-aware, self-reflective, and growth oriented. So we're like, ooh, okay, what were my goals before? And how did I do there before I like set new goals? Like take that moment to like debrief with ourselves, I think, which I think is really important.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's so important to like sit with yourself, especially when it comes to goal setting, but like really reflecting on the things that you did in 2023, right? So, the biggest thing, assessing the progress, like being able to look back and see how far you've come, and really just look at a way to measure those accomplishments, big and small. And we've talked about this before, but celebrating those wins, um, no matter what it looks like, big, small, it's a win and it should be
Yeah.
celebrated at all times, you know?
I think it's sometimes hard to and why it's so important to reflect is because sometimes it's hard to, like, realize how far you've come when you're in the day-to-day of it, right? You're like, "I
Yeah,
have this goal, I haven't quite hit the mark yet," whatever that mark is, and so you kind of forget, like, where your starting point was, but when you take the time to reflect, that's when you can be like, "Oh, wow, I have, like, actually progressed way further than I realized," which I think is good.
exactly. Yeah, I 100% agree. It makes me realize it's like I really have accomplished a lot more than I think I have in this year. And I know that that's going to continue to grow as I move into the new year and setting myself up for success in that way.
Definitely. And then it's also like on the flip side of that, it's a good way to kind of hold yourself accountable too, of like, some goals you're going to be like, oh, yeah, I did all this progress. And then there's others where you're going to be like, oh, okay, maybe I didn't quite focus in on that goal as much as I thought I was going to at the beginning. And like, what could I have done differently?
Yes, exactly. It's like, did you really set like, what did you do in that moment where you either did or did not hit that goal in the way that you thought that you would, right? And then also realizing, did you need to adjust in any way? Did you have to add something? Did you have to take something away? Was there a significant event that happened where you were like, okay, I need to kind of own up to that or own wherever I was at and, adjust accordingly and move that way?
100%. And I think it's interesting because I think sometimes we put more pressure on ourselves than like I'm gonna make a corporate reference here for a second, but, like, then, like, businesses put on themselves, right? Like, I don't know if you hear this with your work, but, like, I hear the term, like, 50-50 goals, like, you set
Mm,
big goals and you hit 50% of them, and guess what? That's still, like, massive project progress, like, that is successful, and I
right.
think sometimes we think of it like, "Oh, I didn't hit my goal for the year, and so then I feel bad," and it's like, acknowledge the progress and, like, learn from it because those companies are learning from why didn't they hit 100% of goals? Well, they probably realized a bunch of different things they didn't expect came up, and that happens in life.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that, we have, at least at my company, when it comes to my own goals, like my own, KPIs, those little technical terms, we're setting those SMART goals. So we're setting goals that can actually be attained, achieved. You can measure all of those. And we set a time to that as well. So we review all of those at quarter to see, okay, this is where we're at, this is what you need to adjust, this is where I'm feeling, and then if we have to adjust it. And I even had this conversation with my manager the other day. She said, if we have to adjust your goals to make sure that you continue to stay on track, then we'll do that. We don't need to keep something if it's going to hinder your progress, if it's going to stress you out, if it's going to prevent you from, getting other places. Like, we can adjust. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is, if you can own up to where you're at, if you can take accountability there and then be able to pivot, you're setting yourself up for success.
100%, and, like, if you do this kind of reflection every year, I think it makes you better at setting realistic goals for yourself too, right? Because 'Cause you're like, "Okay, I set this goal," or maybe like I set
Mhm.
too many goals. I only have the bandwidth to focus on 2, not 4, like little
Right.
tweaks for your life that you can make based on just doing this like kind of reflection exercise.
Absolutely. And speaking of the numbers too, you don't even have to set so many goals, right? I think we get into this mindset of like, I'm setting 10 goals and I have to hit all 10 goals or else. And it's like, absolutely not. If it's just your one goal, let's just say to just survive 2024, then do that. Like, that is a goal and that is achievable. You can make it happen. If you want something more specific, saying, I'm going to do this, this, and this by 2024 or in 2024, then do that too. Like, you do not have to restrict yourself to a number, to a time, like any of that. Like, do what works for you and you will see that growth will come.
100%. And like we realistically, it's hard, life gets in the way, but like we
Mhm.
probably should reflect on our goals more often than once
I
a year.
agree.
But like it is a nice little milestone at the end of the year to do this, right? But like probably should be checking in more often than just at the end of the year, but
I agree with that. And then I've also seen some things online where, because like again, I'm not an expert on this, so I have to like Google half of these things, but I
you
see
have a podcast. You have a podcast. You're
right.
an expert.
I automatically know exactly what I'm talking about. But when it comes to that reflection, there I've seen different things online where you can find these prompts that really challenge your thinking and challenge the things that you did set up for yourself to realize, this is where I'm at here, this is where I'm at here. And then it gives you the kind of that framework to set yourself up for success moving forward. So
Mm.
prompts are a great way on different ways on how you can reflect for this year to goal set for next year.
Ooh, I love that. Are there any that you remember that like stand out to you?
Not right
I'm
now.
sorry, I'm totally putting you on the spot. We'll
I
make a post about it.
do. We'll make yes. I will. What I will do is provide the link that I found,
Oh yeah.
and I'll share that. And there's like a few links there, either links or I'll put like a little like Word doc together or something and just put all of them in one. Make it easier to read, and you can like download the PDF. I'll do it that way. I
Oh
know.
yes.
I'll make it.
Resources.
Yes, I'll create a resource doc that has these different goal setting reflective prompts, and I'll share that.
I think that officially the best tea parties are ones that like leave with like follow-up resources. Like it's kind of like, you go with friends, go hang out with friends and you like get a recommendation for something and then you're like sending a message
Yes.
later with all the details. This is that kind of party. So
Yes, like a little summary page. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what we learned, what I can follow up on. Oh, it's beautiful.
I love it. I love it. So we talked a little bit about reframe. Also it's like with the reframe stuff too, I think that like you kind of started talking about like things come up, things change, and
Mhm.
like also your values might change. Like you may realize something doesn't even align with your values halfway through the year, right? And like change
Absolutely.
that along the way, which I think is important.
Exactly. And like the key thing is just making those necessary adjustments along the way. I think when we get stuck in realizing that things have changed, it's like, oh, well, I need to still try and hit that goal that I set because I set it. And it's like, again, going back to that, you're not tied to keeping that goal the same. You can adjust to where you're at in life. You have to adapt. You have to be a little bit flexible when it comes to that. So you know that you'll be able to feel like you've achieved it by the end of the year. So at the end of the day, just not adding a lot of pressure on yourself will go a long way when it comes to reframing and adjusting those goals.
And that is actually called the sunk cost fallacy. I just Googled it to make sure that I had the right terminology in my head. So,
Ah,
this is the idea that when you've spent so much energy or time towards something already, that like you won't quit, even though it might be better to quit because you feel like you've already put all this energy in. But like that doesn't actually matter. Like where you
right.
are now is what matters. And I actually my sister maybe like a year ago she was like in a position, a volunteer position where she was really really unhappy with it, and
Mhm.
she was like really like I just committed so much time though, like I feel like I need to see it through, but like it was like really weighing on her mental health. And like I would remember the sunk cost fallacy. I was like, girl, this is advice to you. And she ended up
Wow.
letting it go and she felt so
Yeah,
much better. And I think that's the same with goals. Why put pressure on ourselves that like are unhealthy for us or are, not leading us down the path we actually realize is the path we want to be on?
I agree. I have something similar to that too, where I was part of this organization here in Dallas. It was a fitness organization because it was my whole goal to grow in this space because I do love fitness and I do love the communities that I've built around it over the last several years. But it was just not serving me in the way that I thought it would. And I realized that my priorities had changed. I was, doing other things that like made more sense to me and it wasn't really aligning to what they had in mind. So I was like, I have to quit. I have to
Yeah.
leave. I have to move on and continue to focus my energy on things that were going to bring me joy. We're going to get me one step closer to achieving the goals, the different um, guidelines that I had set out for myself. So, wow. Who knew
I
the
love that.
Google is amazing.
Well,
I'm glad that you
it's a
said
term I
that.
remember learning in school, but like I was like, oh, that's a thing. And then I literally had to
Yeah.
look it up when my sister was going through that because I was like, I know there's a term for this. And so I just double checked the day. But
Yeah.
okay, well, now we kind of talked about like why to reflect on goals. So maybe we'll take a little moment to reflect on our own goals so people can kind of see
Sure.
it in action. Um, I can talk about mine first.
Okay.
Okay, so I had kind of four big goals for myself. And I'll talk a little bit how I created my goals on the next episode, but that's like preview for
Yeah.
how to get there. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Yeah.
one was creating content consistently and really like grow my audience. I feel like I achieved that. I, for the most part, post like 2 videos a day. Um, for the most part, I take a few breaks here and there, but for the most
I do
part,
love your videos though.
thanks, girl. You're one of my favorite fans for sure.
I
I
got
I
you.
love the support. Um, I will say though, from a learning perspective, I totally threw out an unrealistic growth number at the beginning of the year. I was like, I'm gonna hit this many followers. I'm not even gonna say how many they are because I'm nowhere near those. But, so I didn't hit that, but I did the consistency thing, which I feel, and I learned a lot, which I'm like really glad that I did. My second
Absolutely.
goal was around health and wellness. I did get a trainer this year. I got more consistent back in the gym. I'm still not eating as healthy as I probably should be, but again, progress, right? And accountability there is like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to change in my lifestyle? That'll probably be another goal I have next year. Third was travel. I definitely did that.
100%.
I traveled more this year than I have in my entire life. I went to 3 different countries, 4 different US cities that I could remember off the top of my head. I did a lot of that. And then my last one was spend more time with my husband. I did not do as well on this one because of the balance of travel too, because a lot of my travel is not with my husband.
Yeah.
And so again, the year's not over. I'm making up for that in the holiday season. I'm trying to spend as much time and not do any more travel this year. But it's something I think like I want to like be more balanced about next year, especially with our dog. He's going through some health issues and just like spend
Hmm.
more time with them. So um
Absolutely.
a lot of wins and then a lot of like, oh, I learned and I didn't quite hit this. And so there'll probably be continuations and things I'll have to think about next year. But what about yours?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to dive right in. So I think a few of y'all that are listening right now might have seen at the very beginning of the year, I had posted a 23 and 2023 list. I'll talk more about how I came up with that, what that looks like, and just setting that up in the next episode. But I'm just going to talk about the different things that I put on that list and, chat about like where I'm at with those so far. So basically, I like to call it, I've just coined this term. I don't even know. It might be real, might not be, but it's progressive goal setting. And it's basically the idea of like having this framework of like what your goals look like, but without a whole lot of the pressure behind it. But we'll talk more about that later. So, first thing that I put on here was replacing or removing items in my home that don't bring me joy or do not represent my current self. And that has been huge for me because this space is small, but it's mighty. I work in this space, I sleep in this space. Like this is where I'm at like 90% of the time. And so I need to make sure it's a place where I feel comfortable every single day. And so at the beginning of the year, actually the first couple of years, at the beginning of the year, the first couple of months, I was able to really do an overhaul and throw out tons of different things that I had sitting in my storage closet, in my actual closet, in my garage, like just got rid of things that felt like I was like being constricted essentially. And
Yeah.
I realized that like it really opened up a lot of space for me to just like exist in my space comfortably, right?
Love
So that
that.
has been something that I've been able to achieve this year. The second thing on here was to finish a professional development course that I bought the previous year. And I'm happy to say that I have not finished it yet.
Yet. Still on the list.
Yet. So backstory behind this. So I was given an opportunity to purchase a professional development course through my company, and it was basically gifted to us at that point. And I was really excited about it because I was like, okay, this is going to be an opportunity for me to grow in my career. And I started it and just didn't finish it. And then life happened, and that's where we're at right now. And I owned up to that. I took accountability and realized, okay, there are a lot of things that I had experienced earlier this year that prevented me from finishing it as early as I wanted to. So took a step back and I said, it's okay. It will
Yeah.
get done, but it's going to be at a different timeline and when I have the capacity to make it happen.
Love it.
The next one was giving myself one weekend to myself, no rules, no obligations, no plans. And I've been successful with that, honestly. And
Wait, just one in the whole year?
No, no, no. Okay, I should rephrase that. What?
I was like, oh
What?
my God, you need more.
No, no, no. Sorry. I meant to say one weekend a month to
Okay.
myself. Yes. Sorry. I needed to rephrase. You're like, wait a second. That's not
I was
great.
concerned about you.
No, 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 no. One weekend a month to myself where I don't have any plans, obligations. If I happen to be out and about, great, but that's on my accord, not because someone has asked me to go out, not because I have that set plan. It's just I'm doing my own thing. So my ideal weekend, which I can get into later, just it's amazing being able to just have it to myself where I wake up, do my own thing, and just see how the day goes. It's
Love that.
beautiful. So one weekend a month to myself. And then finally, the last thing, and there are several on this list, but again, just going to be highlighting a couple of them, was just adding more movement to my days. That included going on walks, working out. There was not really a set number I had to this. In the past, I had discovered when I would add like I had to be at the gym like 5 times this week. And if I didn't hit that number, I got really in my head about it. And to me, that was not the way that I wanted to kind of structure this particular goal. There are others that do need those numbers and need that to see, and that's completely fine. But for me, it did not work. So I just decided to remove the number part from that.
And I'm guessing
So
you realized that because you reflected on a previous year's goals, which led you
I
to a better goal
did.
setting this year.
That's exactly what happened because in 2022, I had said, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week. I'm going to do this 4 days a week. And I would do it, then I wouldn't do it. And then I would get in my head. It was just this whole thing. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. So being able to either go on nature walks in the morning or hit the gym that I go to now, or even, I mean, cycle bar too. And y'all know I teach spin, so it's out there now. But being able to increase my class schedule and being able to teach a few more times during the week has been really nice. And that's just more joyful movement that I've experienced. And then of course, hydrating. I don't think you can see. Okay, there we go. You
Oh,
can
you
kind of
got the
see it in the
Stanley
reflection.
too,
I
the
got the
official
Stanley too.
Stanley.
The official Stanley. I had to get a water bottle that like encouraged me to drink more. And so that has been something that I definitely have improved, and I've noticed a big difference. Because the skin is glowing, as you can see.
Yes. Also, can we
Um,
just normalize that like it's okay to just like want a cute water bottle to motivate yourself to drink water? Like
yeah,
sometimes we need that as ladies. Like I need that too.
absolutely. And there's so much hate going on about the Stanleys and like they're not great and then you should get this. You can get whatever water bottle you want. Whichever one supports you, it's your emotional support water bottle. You
Yes.
get the one that you want. That's it. Full stop.
Mic drop. Period.
Like,
Clip it.
yes, that's it. And then of course, making sure I'm taking my vitamins, girl, because we're at the age where we got to make sure we're just like taking care of ourselves and taking the necessary things that we need to keep functioning. So that's where I'm at. And I feel good about those goals, the things that I've set for myself. And I'm excited to share more about it in our next episode.
I'm obsessed with all of this. I appreciate you reflecting on your 2023 goals with me. I think like at this point we'd encourage everyone to reflect, and now that we've come to the end, we like to close out every episode by sharing the last drop of tea for the day. So I will leave it to you, Stephanie.
Yes. So goal setting is a valuable tool that can be used to help frame what you want to achieve and set clear, realistic expectations. This can lead to your continued growth, impact, and setting yourself up for success.
All right, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.